Maximum temperature 66, minimum 48. This weather report comes to you from the government weather service. We take you now to the emerging room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Raymond Raquello and his orchestra.
Fairy tale.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
Fairy tales can...
In 60 BC, we became introduced to the Actadirna, otherwise known as the forerunner and predecessor of the newspaper. These were like daily official notices, a sort of daily gazette in Rome. This sort of news were normally on stone or metal and presented in message boards in public places like the Forum of Rome.
Fairy tale.
From the 1600s to the 1800s was a time in which was referred to as the colonial era along with the early Republic years. 1732 marked the year in which Benjamin Franklin published a sort of calendar that contained important dates and statistical information, such as weather, poems, and sayings, as well as astronomical and astrological information. This was called the Poor Richard's Almanac, which later then became so popular it began to create a well-known culture in America. Even though in the 1800s it became known as the Telegraph Era and the start of the Industrial Revolution, one of the key important things happened during this time that is involved with the history of journalism. During the beginning of this century was when yellow journalism became a thing. It was when little to no well-researched news were presented and writers used eye-catching headlines in order to sell more newspapers instead of the quality of the information itself. Around this time as well was when news publisher Joseph Pulitzer decides to establish criteria for journalism as well as literature, and from here we were given the Pulitzer Prize.
On top of all this, you'll find those low IQ...
Extra, extra, read all about it. Come get the newspaper. Yo, I want one. Can I have one? Fairy tales can come true.
In the early 1900s, Industrial Revolution era and golden ages of radio, TV, and movies became a thing. In 1947, CBS and NBC first began their newscasts, this which later on became a pivotal moment in journalism history, as it finally became a news broadcasting system.
7, 6, 5, 4. We've gone for main engine start. We have main engine start.
Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I became the prince of a town called LA.
Gentlemen, rock and roll.
So, about the incident, why did you bully that kid?
Well, he was copying off me on the math test that I studied so very hard for. So I decided to teach him a lesson.
Do you think it was the right thing to do it?
Well, of course, he cheated.